Hey guys, how are you? I'm Michelle Taylor Willis, and I am so extremely enthusiastically find every single adjective and add ly to it. That's how I'm feeling right now. That's good, of course, because this is the inaugural interview, the inaugural introduction, really, to Radivision. And Radivision is your home for entrepreneurship. We want Radivision to be like the ESPN for entrepreneurs. And so we're going to be interviewing founders and great entrepreneurs all around the world so that you can hear their stories and be inspired and be entertained and all of those great things. And so we start that with today with one of my faves. I love what she's done. Today we have Miss Shetty here. That's Charby Shetty, and she is one of the founders of Aluna. And Aluna is a spirometer, a home device that you can use to test for lung capacity. So Charby, welcome to the show. You're our first guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So listen, guys, we're going to get you really excited with a quick short video, and then we'll be right back here and we can dive in with Charby, okay?
Hey, honey, are you okay? Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. Okay, just checking.
Awesome. All right, guys. So like I said, we're here with Charby Shetty, who is the CEO and co-founder of Aluna. And I want you to tell us a little bit about the device, Charby, but I got to tell you, I'm so excited about it. I'm not going to tell you why I'm excited about it until a little bit later, but I want you to tell us all about this amazing device that you guys created.
Yeah, definitely. So at Aluna, what we have is a platform with a spirometer as well as a mobile app to be able to monitor your lung function over time. So this is meant for people with chronic lung conditions like asthma, COPD, or cystic fibrosis, and actually even for people who have had COVID and they're trying to monitor their lung health and really see how they're doing, be able to know and get a number, see what they need to do about it, like if they're fine to take medication or go to the hospital, and be able to easily share with your doctor so that they can create a very personalized plan for you.
That's awesome. So I want to know, how did you land here, right? I mean, you are not too far out of college. It's not like you've been, in this space or on this planet for a very long time, but somehow you were able to figure out that this was a need in the market, and you figured out very, very quickly how to fill it. How did you land there?
Yeah, so it actually started off as a class project during our undergrad at UC Berkeley, in which we were introduced to a doctor at UCSF who was telling us about the problem behind monitoring or potentially even predicting the onset of attacks in chronic conditions. And during the interview process, like when we were speaking with doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, medical students, we also spoke with patients. So my college roommate at the time during my senior year actually suffered from such a severe form of asthma when she was a kid that her parents used to not even let her go outside of their home for fear of her having an asthma attack. So she was telling me that rather than remembering things like going to Disneyland, her childhood memories were just filled with trips to the ER. And so what I believe is that people with chronic conditions can live a totally healthy life so long as their disease is well managed. So like they can be able to do and live out their life like they wanted to, so long as their disease is managed. So that's why I wanted to make it my personal mission in my life, to be able to empower people by giving them tools that will enable them to be able to better understand their health.
I love the word that you use, empower. And I think right now we're in a time where empowerment is so key. And for people, younger people especially, right, to be able to understand the power behind empowerment and being able to create something that gives people an opportunity to control their own narrative, right? And have control over their life. And I think people with debilitating diseases like asthma feel so out of control because sometimes you don't know what the trigger is going to be, right? Is that kind of how your roommate felt? And then, did you see her have challenges and be in positions where, even as a college student, she couldn't, do a lot of the things? Yeah.
Exactly. So like, for instance, like I saw her sometimes taking multiple puffs of your rescue medication every single day, like 4 or 6 puffs. And it's not just like my housemate at the time, my college roommate, but my co-founders also used to suffer from asthma when they were kids. So they actually went through it. And for me, I have asymptomatic asthma. I actually found out that I had asthma during the prototyping and creation of this company. And for someone like me, like I have no idea what some of my triggers are. Sometimes I don't even feel bad, but the numbers are like a way to know exactly how I'm doing. So I may feel totally fine, but things like smoke or like air quality or like wildfires could be triggering my lung health and could be affecting my health. And that's when we want to be able to capture it before you even feel bad.
So it's interesting you say that. You didn't even realize that you were a sufferer of asthma until you went through this process of trying to make this process better for other people.
Exactly.
I think that that's amazing because, I think sometimes we end up in this space where we're so focused on ourselves, we're not thinking about other people. And you're showing that you can actually you can take care of yourself while you're finding ways to take care of others too. And if we really do kind of put other people and other people's needs and before us, we will oftentimes end up okay and end up even better than we were before. So kudos for that. So let me ask you, so I know you were at Berkeley. Yeah. Are you a California girl? Were you born in California?
I was actually born in India. So I had traveled. Yeah. So my family is like pretty unique. So I'm half Indian, half Filipino. I grew up in India, lived in the Philippines for a bit, lived in Uganda, then finally moved out here to California.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Time out. Wait. Yeah. That's super unique. Okay. You're born in India. Your parents are Indian and Filipino. And then you lived in the Philippines. And then you end up in Uganda, Africa?
Yep. Uganda, Africa.
Were your parents like military or like, how did you end up all those places?
Yeah, so I mean, my parents have lived, and even my brother, who was born like in Saudi. So my mom, and like who I think of as my role model, and it's like the most important person in the world to me. So she wanted to have me and my brother grow up and being open-minded, so that rather than just visiting different places, she wanted us to be exposed to different cultures by actually living there and experiencing different cultures. And so that's part of the reason why we moved around a lot. So my mom loves moving to different places so we can just experience different cultures.
I love that. And that makes sense because I think too, when you experience different things and different cultures from different perspectives, it gives you a different heart, right? And I think, I've only known you for just a few minutes now, but I can already tell your heart is a little bit different, but it makes sense because your experiences have been different, right? And kudos to your mom for being your role model and for, kind of having the foresight to make sure that you and your siblings had experiences that would really change your life. Because, who knows, usually our past dictates our present and certainly our future. And so you moving around to all those places has given you some insight into things that most people wouldn't have. So, okay, so how'd you end up in California then?
Yeah, so I think back when I was in 4th grade, so we visited California because that's where my aunt lives. And then my mom loved it so much, and we have family over here. So then she decided, okay, I know I want my children to go to school and go to college here. So let's just move here. So she decided for us, yeah.
And California is kind of a different place too. I live in Atlanta. I'm in Georgia. So Atlanta probably feels very different for you, right? I don't know if you've ever been like to Georgia.
I've been, yeah.
You've been to Atlanta?
Yeah, so my brother actually was in the Air Force. So he was in South Carolina, and we used to meet up in Atlanta, and then we would drive down and we would go around in Atlanta.
Got you. So you really have been everywhere. So did you like Atlanta?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was only there for a little bit, so I don't really like know it
Yeah.
too well. And actually, my co-founder, Indy, he used to live in Atlanta when he used to
Is
work at
that right?
Equifax. Yeah, for about a
Oh,
year.
Yeah, Equifax is huge. I don't live too far from Equifax, by the way. So yeah, I try to keep my credit right because they'll come get me if they're too close to me, right? Okay,
Exactly.
so yeah, it's weird because California feels different for me, right? Because it's so far over, and I feel like if you're not from California, if you're not used to that area, it's kind of like a different world for people like me, Southern girls, right? But you guys settled in. Your mom loved it, and she knew that it would be a great place for you and your family. So how did you decide on Berkeley? And was science and engineering kind of always, did you have like a lab set when you were 5?
Well, not quite, I guess. So my dad is an entrepreneur himself, so he like has his own businesses, and my mom is a nurse, so she was always in
Wow.
healthcare, and I wanted to be able to merge the two. Like I always knew I wanted to do something within health. Originally, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I actually wanted to find some space where there's room for innovation, which is how I chose my major at Berkeley, bioengineering, because I did want to impact the quality of people's health and their lives, but at the same time, I wanted to create some sort of innovation. And since bioengineering was such a new field, I felt like there was a lot of room for innovation in that space. So that's how I decided for that in particular at Berkeley.
Got you. And it's interesting because I was actually on a panel just before this, and we were talking about how the people around you shape really what you become, or can shape what you become. And whatever you see is usually what you do. So I love that you literally married your parents. I mean, you were probably married already, but you took the medical side from your mom and you took the entrepreneurial side from your dad, and you literally married them and created this product. So what did you see in your dad as an entrepreneur? Well, let me ask you, what kind of businesses did he have?
So he ran and managed hotels. So that's how we were able to move around like all over.
Got
So like he
you.
managed a hotel in Uganda. He was doing the same thing in India, and he owned some places like in Arkansas, and like now he's working in the Bay Area still. So, but for him, like what I saw in him is that he was willing to basically give up everything and try something new and start off a
Mm.
new venture. So he was fearless in that kind of sense. And then the way that it balanced out with my mom is that my mom is the one who pushed him to his limits and which is how I
Wow.
feel with like my co-founders as well. Like we we put all of our hearts in this because this is something we firmly believe. Like for my mom firmly believed that like moving around and experiencing different cultures was the right thing for our family. And for my dad, he knew that he could become successful if he places enough effort into it. And that was his passion and something that he thoroughly enjoys doing.
And you have literally become that person, right? I mean, taking a risk like this, I mean, it's one thing, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? But there's one thing to start a business with no bricks and mortar and no product, just kind of on thoughts and ideas. But it's another thing to actually create something and have to get buy-in on it and get people to give you money to help you develop it and get FDA approval. I mean, there's so many pieces to what you've done that really fall into this risk-taking category, right? So what was the
Exactly.
toughest part when you realized, okay, this isn't just a project in class anymore. This is something we need to move forward with.
Well, what is the point?
At what point was that? Yeah. Sorry, I might not have
Yeah.
finished the question. I'm enthralled by your story. So
Yeah, so I mean, so originally, like I just did my grad school at UCSF. I took an entrepreneurship class. I was surrounded by other people within the medical device entrepreneurship kind of space who told me about and shared their stories. And actually, I was working at Genentech for a bit. And so while I was working at Genentech, I spoke with my manager and told him that I was working on this. And I felt like I was doing a disservice to both by working on both things at the same time. So I
wow.
told him like, hey, I'm thinking about starting this company. and I'm thinking of no longer working here. What do you think about that? And he said, well, you're young, you don't have any kids yet. You don't have any so much like a lot of responsibilities to do it. And if you ever fail, there's always a place back here for you. And so that gave me room and encouragement, at least from like professional perspective, that I have something to fall back on. And also a lot of my friends and my family were extremely supportive of me. So like, for instance, most of my roommates at the time back after college, they were working at Apple and also at Amazon. So then they basically paid for like most of the rent. I basically didn't have to pay that much money
Are
to
you
like live here in
serious?
San Francisco. And so like that kind of support. And same with
Wow.
my family. They were like, my parents are very encouraging and said, yes, go for it. Don't worry about like any like financial stuff as well. Just go for your dreams.
Man, I need your college roommates, because I'm pretty sure my college roommates weren't gonna be like, "Oh no, Michelle, we got you. Like, you just go and make something of yourself. We'll pay for everything." That was not happening at the University of Florida. But I think that that's awesome. But this is such great information, because we have tons of entrepreneurs, right, or people who want to delve into business, who are listening to your story. And so one of the things I hear, outside of just being able to take that risk, is surrounding yourself with people who understand the vision and who really believe in you, and who aren't afraid to take the leap with you, but also who aren't afraid, who are maybe smarter than you in ways that you are not, right? That can offer things to the conversation that maybe you can't see, right? I mean,
Exactly.
and so your co-founder, your roommate that suffered from asthma, and then you had another really good friend that suffered from asthma. These were all people's experiences that you could take and mesh together.
Yep,
So
exactly. Exactly. Like even my brother had asthma as a kid, so I saw it regularly. And my mom, even to this day, has pretty bad asthma to the point
wow.
where when she was missing several days of work. Yeah.
Now, is there a genetic component to asthma? Because yeah,
Yeah, there definitely is. So I mean, my brother inherited it from my mom, and I guess I got it from my mom as well.
yeah, and I guess there's different, the severity of the disease and how it can attack. I guess it differs from person to person, but that's really interesting. But the fact that you had so many people that were supportive of you, and that you started, being at Genentech, kind of starting in that space, but even your boss saying, "Listen, go little bird, spread your wings, and if you ever want to come back, we'll be here for you." This
Exactly.
is this is the person with a different heart, right? This is who you
Mhm.
are, somebody different, somebody new and refreshing, so to speak. I love talking to you. So walk us a little bit through your journey in terms of, okay, we're going to, design this product, we're going to build it. How do you go from, concept to, funding and to
Yeah.
launch?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, part of our first funding, so we got some money from UC Berkeley to be able to prototype it. So we're in the basements of Berkeley creating this, and then
In the
the
basement at Berkeley.
it's literally in the basements of Berkeley labs. So it's underground and same thing. And then we got some money from UCSF, like a grant from the Catalyst Award. So we were able to work with the pulmonologist to be able to compare the accuracy of our device versus the hospital's barometer. Then we got some money from an accelerator here in San Francisco, IndieBio. And at the same time, we also got some National Science Foundation Award funding to be able to help even accelerate some of the work that we're doing, especially in the research aspects of it, in
Mhm.
terms of applying machine learning to really be able to see what's going on within a person's lungs and be able to predict attacks before things even happen. So I guess it built off of each other. And at the core of our company, we were always based, I guess, with a very strong medical underpinning, in that we always work super closely with those pediatric pulmonologists at UCSF, or are very long-term like partners. They pushed for us to even get that award. They're running all the studies right now. And yeah, everything is really, really based on science.
Wow. And so getting accepted, because it's not always easy to get accepted into an accelerator, into an incubator. Did you use some connections maybe at Berkeley to help you with any, or did you just, apply on your own and were able to get in and be able to tap into some of this funding?
Yeah, so at UCSF, as part of that one class with entrepreneurship class, we had to give some presentations. And apparently one of the people at the audience was someone from IndieBio, the accelerator program. And so he saw persistence in me as like a founder and our team in terms of following the idea. And he just believed that, well, if a person can be this persistent about something, like the company will succeed. And so he entrusted like us as a team. And then it was really nice to see that when the National Science Foundation decided to give us an award, they really strongly believed that there's a highly strong like science and innovative aspect of it to be able to do something that no one else has ever done before. So that helped validate it for some of our venture capital firms that invested in us afterwards. They saw that as a mark of approval, stamp of approval.
Wow, and congratulations on that. That's a huge, I mean, I've won a couple of awards, but I'm not getting any science awards, so I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
No, my co-founder was actually, she shared the same stage as Alvin Roth, someone who won like a Nobel Prize for accepting our award for like innovation in IP excellence, which was awarded by the Chamber of Commerce.
Do you ever like pinch yourself?
Yeah, all the time. It's crazy, right? It's crazy.
I know. I mean, because when you're, just kind of bouncing back and forth as a kid, right? And then in the labs at Berkeley thinking like, okay, we hope it becomes something. Because you got to think there's so many Charvies out there, right? That are just grinding and pushing and, pitching all the time. And there's not enough space for everybody, right? I mean, there's tons of money out there, but everybody's not going to get it. But the fact that you're continuing to secure partnerships. I mean, you've even gotten some partnerships with big hospitals, and talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we've worked with UCSF from the very beginning. Here in San Francisco, we've also started a study at the Children's Hospital of LA. We've done a study before at University of Vermont. So like what we want to be able to do is to work with these larger universities so that we can demonstrate that it's actually helping improve people's lives. And we want to be able to disseminate all of this information through publishing papers so you can get more credibility and more of acceptance from the entire medical community.
Wow. So let me ask you this. What's your end game? Is this where you stop? Do you go and develop, something else? Or, I mean, are you still kind of just enjoying this space and you're just write it out here for a minute, see where this wave takes you?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, like I still I believe that there's, besides just the respiratory space, like we're starting off with asthma. There's other respiratory conditions that could benefit from having some sort of like some tool to be able to empower themselves to self-manage their lung health. But in addition to just like asthma, COPD, cystic fibrosis, pulmonary fibrosis, I believe there's a lot of other technologies that are currently trapped in the hospital right now that can be brought into people's homes. And so this can be totally outside of the respiratory space. And so that's what I want my mission in life to be able to empower people by giving them tools that will enable them to have better control over their chronic conditions.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And I'm going to tell you number one reason I love this product. I love and I hate this product at the same time. And you're going to understand why. About 5.5 years ago, my sister passed away from complications of asthma. Oh, wow. And yeah, and I just keep thinking, when I saw this, I stared at your website like this for probably 5 minutes, no lie, because I just kept thinking, if this were something that I had for her, she might still be here. And then the post that I put on LinkedIn to get people to watch this, the last one I said is, this is going to be 30 minutes. It's going to be quick, but it could literally save someone's life. And so as much fun as I'm having with you here today talking about this, asthma can be so serious, but your device literally has the opportunity to change lives, but to save lives. And that's so key. And I hope that whoever's not on board, that doesn't know about what you're doing, jumps on board quickly and continues to support and uses this really for their kids, because this is great for kids, for adults, for insurance companies. Everybody benefits from Aluna, right?
Yep, exactly. So like I mean for us, like some of the things that we've seen from some of our studies are people's lung health deteriorates sometimes even a week or like several days or even a week before they even feel any symptoms coming
Right.
on. And so especially when a doctor can see that for themselves, well, one, the patient can know that their numbers are decreasing and follow their doctor's action plan. If the patient is continuing to decline in their lung health, the doctor can intervene so then they can avoid costly trips to the ER
Mhm.
or being hospitalized. So it's all around better for all of the different people.
Which is awesome. All right, so we got about 5 minutes here. Like I'm going to transition into a couple of quick questions. Which there's a reason this is a COVIDpreneur season, right? Because this device has the opportunity to shine during this session or during this time. So the first question is, how has COVID impacted your company?
Yeah, so I mean, for a lot of people with these chronic conditions, previously they would have to go into the hospital to get this kind of test done. And as soon as shelter in place was in effect, like people were not leaving their homes, and but the doctors needed some way to understand how their patients were doing, and patients themselves needed to know how they're doing. And because of all the changes for accelerating telehealth, which I think are here to stay even after COVID, they're just basically accelerated all of our the demand for our product across all
Mm.
indications for kids, adults, people with asthma, COPD, cystic fibrosis, all coming to us. Like I've never gotten this many calls from different universities on like weekends or
Wow.
nights asking for a product. Like I mean, for instance, for our partners at UCSF and for some other universities, you're not even, normally you need to go into the hospital to even see the research implications to collect this kind of data point to see how things are being affected, your lungs are being affected. And so we're enabling people to be able to collect this metric at home for instance, for different universities or clinical institutions.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, so I mean, and we've also noticed like even for people in New York primarily, even after they've had COVID, they're experiencing a lot of respiratory symptoms still. They're still short of breath. They're still
Right.
experiencing some sort of trouble breathing. And so they understand like how important it is to monitor your lung health. So we've heard stories from our customers saying, yeah, I purchased this because I want to know how I'm doing. And I want to know how like I'm placing my lung health as a top priority because now I
Absolutely.
understand how important it is. And
Absolutely.
so
Which
it's,
takes
it's
us to our next question too. I bet someone says,
yeah,
have sales gone through the roof due to COVID? I guess the
yeah.
answer, you kind of answered that, yes.
Yeah, definitely. So originally we were planning on having a soft launch, like 50 units for our website, 50 to doctors, and we sort of passed that with the hundreds being sold even in the first week.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. All right, we've got time for one more question here. Does Aluna support a telemedicine program or platform integration?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a dashboard. So doctors can just log on and their nurses can log on and see how their patients are doing. And so that way the patient, like the end user, doesn't have to do anything. Their data can automatically be transmitted so long as they give consent to both us plus their doctor that they're willing to share their information. So that way someone is actively looking at your information. So then if there does need to be some sort of change, like say, for instance, your medication isn't working or there's something else like they notice, like your symptoms or your triggers are being, you're triggered by, for instance, wildfires. And so you really need to be able to stay inside a bit longer. So all of that is empowered by the telemedicine platform that we do have to connect patients directly to their own doctors.
Excellent. Wow. Can you believe it's been 29 minutes?
It passed by, it felt like 10 minutes.
I know. Listen, thank you so much, Harvey, for coming on and being, our first host in this COVIDpreneur session on Radivision. And guys, as you know, Radivision is your network. We want this to be the ESPN for entrepreneurs. Anything entrepreneurial or founder-like or whatever, we want this to be your home. So thank you so much for tuning in. Charlie, please tell us how people can find you on socials or on your website.
Yeah, so our website is alunacare.com and basically across all different platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, our handle is alunacare.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again so much. Please, if there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know. Congratulations. Keep winning awards. And guys, we will see you next time. We did it. It's the first one. We're off to the races, guys. See you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.